Hello and good evening. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to episode 2 of our series which we started in our last episode titled Abraham from Birth to Death. In episode 1 of this series, I started by explaining right from the Garden of Eden how the animal skin garments made by God for Adam and Eve after the fall got to the hand of Nimrod, who, due to his success and might among his brethren, was made king. And I remember explaining that he was the third generation of Ham, the son of Noah. And I also told you about Terah, the father of Abraham, who was about the 8th generation descendant of Shem, the son of Noah. And how after giving birth to Haran and Nahor, at about 70 years of age, he got married to Amthelo and gave birth to a son and named him Abram. Abram, because he said he was highly favored and dignified among the people of the kingdom and the king himself. And so today we are going to continue from there. Now, the birth of Abraham was in this wise. Abraham was born after sunset. So, all the servants of Terah, who was the highest prince of King Nimrod, he was actually the prince of King Nimrod's host. So, he was the most dignified prince in the land. This was at the time that King Nimrod ruled the entire kingdom from his palace that was in Babel rather. So the birth of Abraham was in the evening after sunset. And so all the servants of Terah, all the wise men of the land, the conjurers of the king, everybody that mattered in the land came that night to celebrate with Terah, except the king Nimrod. It was a big party. They ate and drank and partied deep into the night. So later in the middle of the night, they got up to leave. And when the wise men and the conjurers, in other words, the seers, got outside the compound of Terah, they looked up to the sky and they saw something strange. About four strange stars standing at the 4 points in the sky. So why they were beholding this? Because there were other stars, but these 4 stars in the 4 corners of the heavens were great, and they are stars they've not seen before. So while they were beholding, trying to wrap their heads around it, trying to know the meaning, remember these are wise men and they are seers. Then all of a sudden from the east, another great star came up with great speed and moved towards the 4 stars in the 4 corners and swallowed them all up one after the other. right under these men's eyes while they were still watching. And this surprised them greatly. And while they were trying to think of it, the Lord permitted their understanding to know the meaning of what has transpired. It dawned on them immediately, and all of them unanimously agreed that this was a sign concerning the newborn child to Prince Terah. And that the newborn child to Prince Terah and his seeds after him are going to be a thorn in the flesh of King Nimrod, his descendants, and the entire kingdom. The descendants of this newborn child, Abraham, are going to bruise the head of King Nimrod and his descendants. And they marveled so much at the interpretation of what they saw. They went home and agreed to meet in the house of one of the conjurers the next morning. So the next morning they all gathered there and unanimously agreed to tell the king Nimrod about what has happened now, because if he happens to find out later and knew that they were aware that they've seen this thing and didn't tell him, the penalty will be death. Remember, they are dealing with a very brutal and wicked king, powerful, mighty, that 1,000 of them put together can't come close to him, even in physical battle. So it will be devastating if they didn't tell him now. So they agreed to tell him, and straight away they went to the palace. Getting to the palace, they greeted the king. King live forever, oh king live forever. They spoke up and said, yesterday night, words came to us that Terah, your prince, had a bouncing baby boy. And we all went with your servant and his servants, and everybody went to his house to celebrate with him. We ate, drank, and partied deep into the night. But when we got up to leave, a strange occurrence happened right outside Terah's house. And they narrated everything, how they saw the stars, how another great star broke from the east and swallowed up the 4 other great stars. And they said this means just one thing, that the son born to Terah yesterday night is going to be a thorn in your flesh. Him and his seeds after him are going to be thorn in your flesh, and to that of your descendants and the entire land. So, unanimously we have agreed and come up with this suggestion that the child born to Terah be killed immediately to rid this land of its evil, because the child is not an ordinary child, and if we let him grow, he's going to bring evil to the land. And the king said, very well. And he sent his servant to go get him Terah. They went and caught Terah. When Terah came, he congratulated him and said, I was told that a son was born to you yesterday. Congratulations, but the revelation about him is not good. He went on and narrated everything that the conjurers told him. And then he said, to rid this land of this evil that is growing up from your house, I'm going to give you silver and gold enough to fill your entire house as a price for the life of your son. Therefore, I demand that you bring that boy to me so that we'll kill him, and I give you silver and gold in place of it to rid this land of the evil that has come to life with him. Terah is the prince with this king, and he knows exactly what he's capable of. He pondered over it for a few minutes, and Terah replied the king and said, very well, my king. I have heard your request, and yes, my lord, I'll do what you have said. But please, my king, permit me to tell you what happened in my compound yesterday, because I promised the person to seek your counsel concerning the matter before replying him. And the king said, very well, I'm all ears. He said, yesterday night, after all the visitors to my compound had left, Hayon, the son of Mored, requested that I give him the beautiful and great horse which you, the king, gave to me, and that he will give me silver, gold, straw, and provender for it, in place of it. But I told him to wait for me to seek your counsel concerning the matter before replying him. Now, my lord, what do you think about it? And the king got so angry, very angry, and said, Terah, have you gone so mad? Have you gone mad? What is silver and gold that you exchange the great horse, the most beautiful and strongest horse in all the planet Earth that I personally gave to you? Have you gone so lazy that you cannot provide straw and provender for your animals? And you had the audacity to bring such matter before me? What is silver and gold compared to such a horse? And Terah said, very well, my lord. That was why I decided to seek your consent concerning the matter before replying Hayon. And he went further and said, my lord, if silver and gold, straw and provender are not worth the life of a horse, my king, what will my house full of silver and gold do for me if my son, my beloved son, is killed? Is he not the son that will inherit my properties when I die? If therefore my beloved child is killed, the silver and gold will come back to the king after my death. And then the king understood that what he had said concerning Hayon, the son of Mored, was only but a parable. And this angered the king even the more. And he said to Terah, if you disobey me concerning your son, you know the consequences. I have spoken, and so shall it be. When Terah saw the countenance of the king, he said to him, yes, O king, both I and everything I own and my children all belongs to you. Therefore, my king, if you wish, I can bring the young child and his two elder brothers to you and do whatever you will with them. And the king said, no. I only requested for the young one born to you yesterday. And I will give you silver and gold for his value. And Terah said to the king, please, my lord, would you permit me to speak but these ones? And the king said, yes. He said, could you please give me 3 days to ponder over this issue and talk with my family concerning this matter? The king said, very well, you have 3 days. So Terah left, went back home, and related everything that has happened at the palace to his family. They all lamented and were so afraid because they know what King Nimrod is capable of doing. When Terah got home that evening, he was also informed that one of his servants gave birth to a baby boy that same evening. Now, Terah, as the highest prince in the land, had so many servants, and they intermarry and raise children, all of which are Terah's. As servants to him, all their children born in his compound are his. After 3 days, on the third day rather, the king sent his servants to Terah to tell him to bring the child to the palace before sunset. And if he refuses to do so, every living thing breathing in his compound will all be slaughtered and crushed before sunset. Terah knows who he's dealing with. He's not a man to be toyed with. If he as much as say it, he's gonna do it. Terah told the servant, tell the king, I'm right behind you. So they left. Immediately he recalled that a boy was born by one of his servants to him. So he went to the servant's quarter, found the woman with a child on her lap, feeding the child. Terah took the child from her, went to the palace with him. When he got to the palace, he presented the child as Abram to the king. The king collected the child, gave him the price he has promised for his value, took the child by his legs, raised him up and slammed his head right on the floor. Slammed his head on the floor right there on the palace. And the child died. Terah went home. And in the dead of the night, he smuggled Abram, his mother, and his nurse out of town to the outskirts into a cave, a secret cave, and hid them there. Abram, his nurse, and his mother were in that cave for 10 years. So, Abram spent 10 years isolated from other people, not knowing other people apart from his nurse and his mother and his father, who comes monthly to supply their needs himself, because he couldn't leave such responsibility to any other person. So there won't be a mistake of giving their secrets up, because that will be too dangerous. So he supplied their need monthly by himself. And Abraham grew up to about 10 years right there in the cave. And the king and the kingdom forgot about the issue of Abraham, because they thought they've killed him. We'll have to stop here for today. Thanks once again for joining me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and share so others can learn also from it. And please subscribe to our channel so you'll be informed and alerted when we upload a new video. Now, we're trying to shorten the time so it won't be too long and boring. So please join me in our next episode as we take it up from here. And until then, from me to you is Shalom.